Good morning, welcome to Morning Review. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday, the 24th of January. So, looking at the euro dollar first, and well, yesterday saw yet another good up day. No surprise to see some sort of retracement after three up days like we've seen. A bit of a retracement so far, but we're really just back to this 4-hourly 8 at the moment. It has held up until now. Could roll over. That there are probably signs of a bit of, well, it's very marginal if it is there at all. It's probably not actually there. I was looking for the divergence between the two highs here, and really can't see it on the. Really struggling to see any divergence between the two there, but it may be marginal. Either way, on the 60 minutes there was certainly a lower high here in terms of the RSI through the Asian session, but probably not a massive shock. Anyway, what am I looking for here then? Well, if we continue to start selling off, which is a possibility, I'm going to have to wait until post 8 o'clock to put this channel line on properly. I may look for the break back down to the 50, a bit bigger correction from this overall movement that we've seen up. However, my preference is on the long side, ideally, in terms of what we're seeing with the overall market here, the high lows, high highs, and if it can break this more steeper sort of move and start pushing up, well, I'll be looking at yesterday's highs in the R1 sort of direction. Cable, well, it's not too dissimilar in some of the pattern here. It's had a good shove up, decent retracement, just pulling back to its it's just running into its weekly pivot there, the R1 through the Asian, I say through the Asian session. That's last night actually. It ran in there, and it's tried it again this morning, but it's well, just back through the daily pivot, so it's ticked that one off at least in terms of retracement levels. However, again here, a little bit more difficult in terms of deciding on an entry. If we were to look for shorts this morning off this, it could pull back towards the 50 MA. It's had quite a shove up there. It's whether or not this will have a bit more of a retrace. My preference is still really for the long side. I am long from an original movement last week. The process behind it at least, and I'm looking, well, to see if we can push up towards its weekly 21 a bit further yet, so maybe even beyond. It may be a bit more of a correction. Now, looking at it like this, probably quite a steep move, but I'd have to look in the shorter time frames. When they say intraday, this is intraday, but in the lower time frames, maybe for a possible long add-in. A break of this 34 may be the signal that we're going to see a bit more correction down to the S1 and 50 MA area, but still erring on the longer side on this currency at the moment, and it's difficult to see where it's going to really give me a decent trade at the moment to the downside. But as I say, there is potential on the break at 34, and coming back to euro much easier in a sense if it starts breaking down, and it has been marginally weaker. Yesterday we saw the sell-off while cable continued holding or pushing upwards. Okay, dollar yen. It's all right, I'll come on to the news in a moment. This is today. Dollar yen, let's have a look at the bigger picture there. Double bottom here on this from this daily scenario. Still got potential continuation here. Let's just have a look at this. There was a divergence. There was quite a clear divergence there on the dailies. You might see more upside in that case. It's already broken through the daily pivot. May run up towards the R1. 50 MA would be quite a logical place for it to run up towards here. At the moment, it's remaining quite bullish. However, if it does fail, starts rolling over, it's a case of looking at these sort of the lows here and judging an entry, possibly still down to the downside, and see if we can break this. But with this higher time frame divergence on it, it may be just worth sitting this one out, or if there's an opportunity post 8 o'clock to look for the long side back towards that 50. Aussie dollar. Okay, so the Aussie's rolling as well, daily as well. It didn't manage quite so well. It was okay yesterday, but this morning it's pushed and popped and dropped it by the looks of it. And if it drops much further, it could be on for the weekly pivots below us there. Didn't get caught yesterday, but it looks like a fair game today. Still rolling through this current level. If we can just draw it across here, comes in nicely with that daily 100. If it starts selling through there, well, as I say, the momentum could take it, and the intermediate momentum could take it through there towards that weekly pivot. Just watching cable selling off at the moment. We're seeing a bit of dollar strength coming through. Okay, and finally the Canadian dollar. So we might get the corrective side of these moves as opposed to anything else. We'll see. Okay, Canadian dollar put a pivot swing in yesterday, bearish pivot swing. Look from a daily point of view, broke through to the weekly pivot, broke through that. Again, seeing a bit of a rally at the moment, a bit of dollar strength coming through the market overall here at the moment. If it continues to the upside, well, it could easily run through towards the R1, maybe even to yesterday's highs there if it gets any sort of move on. If this is just a sort of an early morning shout move, well, we could be looking at some point at the breakdown here of some sort of trend line, maybe even getting in at a better sort of level. At the moment, the London session moves on this has not been wonderful in terms of the volatility, and for me, I'm just sort of stepping aside of it and just sticking on the euro pairs, but it certainly has the opportunity of pulling down a reasonable distance back towards that S1 if it does start kicking back south. As I say, if it continues upwards, well, then we've got the R1 and yesterday's high seem logical areas. So that's pretty much it with the majors there. In terms of news today, we got the flash French and German data coming out this morning. In fact, that's near enough out. For the French data would be out 8:30 German data. It gives a little bit of volatility to the euro, not massive. 9 o'clock we see the overall figure come through. Again, some small movement generally there. At 9:30 we should be seeing the EU membership court ruling, in which case it won't make a massive difference, but I'm not too sure whether the markets will react, and so I'd be careful around 9:30 with cable. Make it some quite a move around that sort of time. If it has to go back to the vote, well, there's already plans in to draw a very limited bill up. So it looks like whatever happens, Article 50 is going to be triggered because the government's got the majority. However, it's just the messing around in court in Parliament then that will occur before the bill goes through. Okay, existing home sales later on in the day. Not too interesting at all there in the US, but it may get a little bit of volatility at 3 p.m. Okay, that's it for me. Have a great one. Bye for now.